All right, we're recording at the moment. Probably not going to be live. Tell me what you had for breakfast this morning, Caleb.
I had a fried egg, turkey sausage, sliced strawberries, and half of a blueberry muffin. It's very well balanced. My wife takes care of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even have to ask for it. It
Wow.
was just sitting on the counter.
And Brad, what'd you have for breakfast?
I had a heaping spoonful of lovin' and one slice of bacon and coffee.
What you think, Caleb? How does that sound for levels?
Yeah, everybody sounds great to me.
Yeah.
All good on your end?
It sounds good to me.
Okay. Shall we roll?
Let's fucking do it.
Hello, everyone. Brad's giving hand gestures here. What does he need?
Glass. I was going to pour some water. That's your glass, dickhead. Dickhead.
And he's not talking to me.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to Caleb Wills, our
Caleb
special guest.
Will's special guest on Shiftless.
DJ Caleb.
Salutations and greetings to all.
Hopefully, folks remember Caleb joining us for the Riders Report from 2023 Unbound Gravel.
Indeed.
Man, speaking of gravel, I'm so glad Caleb coerced me to go do this event this past weekend. By coerced, I mean he told me, hey, you have to go do this event because he went and did it last year. And as soon as he got back, I think I saw him the next day, and he's like, I don't care what you're doing next year. You're going to Terlingua, and we're going to do this route that Kevin's putting on because it's spectacular. And it was as promised, if not better. I don't know what I expected, but it was way better than anything I could have anticipated. It was, obviously we talked about it the whole way home, but I woke up this morning still thinking about the highlights. And like I told them, even the parts that sucked were amazing. Like the parts where you're pushing and you're like, it was still just amazing.
It's crazy to think that it's still in Texas.
Yeah.
And there's so many of us that live here.
Yeah.
That just don't get to see that. And my description of it to you, obviously, still didn't do justice.
No. And I sent my mom a bunch of pictures, and my mom was like, that's in Texas?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
It's another planet down there.
Yeah. It's so much like Mexico.
It's strangely similar to Mexico. It's almost as if they share the same geography.
But there's no sepia filter.
Yeah. Not as much contrast on this side.
Garrett did say it looked different when he got across the border and looked back, though.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure that made a huge difference. So, it's smack dab in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert, which does extend down into Mexico proper and extends up into New Mexico.
Yeah.
For those that may not be aware of which event they're referring to, we did our second edition of Spinistry-palooza. We loosely use the term Big Bend, Texas.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a general designation. I know it throws some folks off because they're expecting it to be in the middle of the national park or the state park, but we've opted to utilize private land and private roads for it. I think that gives us a little more flexibility.
It looks like it'd be a little more difficult being in the park. This is my second time to go into the park, and we still went in and kind of noodled around, but we couldn't do Spinistry-palooza in the park because there's not a lot of looping gravel roads.
Yeah.
Right? There's gravel roads that stretch from one end of pavement to another.
Yeah.
And you really wouldn't get that great experience in the park. The park's something completely different. It's go hiking, go see some things.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could do what we did.
Speaking of which, I'm not a hiker, but looking back, I really enjoyed our hikes. We did that Lost Mine hike on Thursday, and that was type 2 fun for me, honestly, which hiking I've never I mean, I did not enjoy it when we were walking up there. Plus,
I did.
cold, stoved up from being in the truck and all that.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't do a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
But the vistas and just the views were well worth it. And also the camaraderie, obviously. And then the little hike we did when we went down to Santa Elena Canyon was amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, you say the pictures don't do it justice, but taking the pictures, looking back on the pictures, it does it justice for me.
Oh, it's a great reminder
Yeah.
prompt, but it doesn't do justice for anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's curious about it, or you try to go look how
Yeah.
cool this really is, and well, that's pretty cool, but it's not that cool.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures and video just never do
Yeah.
it justice.
Not enough bananas to scale.
Exactly.
And how cool was it? I was telling you guys when we were going up into the Chizos Basin, it's almost a completely different ecosystem inside.
Yeah.
It
It's
is
almost
a completely different.
It's almost like a biosphere, right? I mean, there's water.
It's
in
an
there.
island in the desert.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And there was snow on the ground when we went up on Lost Mine
Yeah.
Trail.
There
was
really
there
was
still
snow?
Yeah,
in the
legit.
shadows. Yeah, there was on the
Interesting.
trail. There was snow. Yeah.
Yeah, legit.
Was that left over from a week ago, or did they have?
They must have had it a week ago. Because
Yeah.
remember, we were talking, we went to one of the visitor centers, and on the steps there was rock salt. And that was recent. So it must have been within the last week or so.
Well, that's so funny because I think I told y'all that first night when I went outside, it felt like it was an icy fog out, but the skies were crystal clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it felt like there was ice in the air. It was
Oh,
really-
there was ice on our saddles when we woke
Oh,
up.
yeah.
There-
Friday morning.
Yeah,
Friday
there was
morning.
definitely ice on
Yeah.
on the trucks and the trailer and everything that got left out.
That's the other thing that we can't not talk about is how perfect the weather was and how blessed we were to get whatever precipitation they got days leading up to it. Because the dust was tamped down, the temperatures. So Saturday was the warmest day. We had a cold start on Friday when we rolled out. I think I started with a jacket and stuff and even warm gloves, and then shedded those promptly. But on Saturday we rolled out and it was chilly. But then Sunday we had the overcast and it kept feeling like the clouds were going to burn off, and they never quite did.
They never did.
But they did at night.
Yeah.
Like when I got back in my tent.
The stars popped out.
Oh, I got back in my tent and I did not have my rain fly on, and I was just laying there looking at the Milky Way and all the stars, and I was just like, this is what sleeping in the desert is about. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. But that course was everything. I mean, and you talked about the geography or the everything changing on the piece that we went on. I saw these cactus that we didn't see on the rest of the course.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like barrel cactus, but they were made of a bunch of other little cactus. But it was literally like you could have put a form around it. It was interesting.
I kind of had my own little personal bingo card of things that I saw last year.
Yeah.
That I wanted to see again, and so every time I would see the thing,
Yeah.
I kind of check it off, and I saw those.
Yeah.
They look like basketballs with spines on
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the purple cactus, we finally saw
Yes,
that. I
yes.
kept going on, and I was like, you got to see this cactus. It's like the color of eggplant. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it was
Yeah.
glowing purple.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling them on the way up, or maybe it was on Friday when we were, or maybe it was even Thursday when we were doing the Lost Mine hike. I was like, we should tell Kevin he needs to have bingo cards next year.
Yeah.
Think of like Wild Donkey, Fix a Flat, or whatever,
Yeah.
Forgot your whatever, or,
A
just
school bus house.
school bus house. Yeah.
Well, that gets checked off really quick down there.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's been 30 years since I've been down there. I mean, obviously not much has changed.
Sure.
But I also didn't remember that area at all. I went down there years ago for, was it Masamanos, the race they used to run down there?
I mean, there was
But they called it, is Terlingua and Lajitas the same thing?
they're
Or am
they're
I-
neighbors.
Yeah.
They're like HEB.
Yeah. Because
Studi Butte, Terlingua, Lajitas are kind of like HEB.
Okay, because I think it was in Lajitas that they did this race, but like I said, it had to be 90,
I mean, the mountain bike festival used to be out of Lajitas, but
94?
That's before my time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was 94 the last time
And
I
then
went.
there was the one they used to do out of El Paso that went over to Mexico. That was
No, I did Chupacabra that started in Juarez.
okay.
Yeah.
That was before my time.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't find the Chihuahuan Desert in Big Bend area until 2020.
Yeah.
It's something I'd always wanted to do, and it was always on my personal big bingo card.
Yeah.
But it's always been one of those things when it's like, well, we've got a weekend available to do it. I love New Mexico and Colorado too. So it was always, well, I know New Mexico, I know Colorado, and I know there's this I want to see there. It's it's 2 hours more driving, but it's in my existing comfort zone and stuff I already know I want to do.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do Big Bend, and
I can't wait to go back.
I
cannot wait to go back.
I'm addicted to it now.
I told Paula, I said, I want to take you down there. I said, you would fall in love with the desert. And she just had this like astounded like look, like there's no way in hell. And I'm like, no, I promise you, you would love it. It's just a different lifestyle too.
My wife's been very
different.
similar when we've been talking about it for the past few years, and she finally kind of like maybe there is something to it, and she tagged along. And
It's very romantic in a some kind of way. I can't put it into words very well, but
in a John Ford sort of way.
well, like I was telling these guys, it's completely different, but the feeling that I got from it was very similar to the Flint Hills of Kansas, where there's nothing there, yet it's astoundingly beautiful. And Kansas is just rolling hills and grass and not many trees, and there's not as much to look at, but there's just something beautiful about the landscape is not tampered with. There's not hardly any telephone poles. There's hardly any fences. It's just nothing, and it's beautiful.
It's like ripping the cover off of a book, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's no trees to cover the landscape. There's no houses covering the landscape. There's no massive pieces of concrete.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you were just to scalp our landscape.
Yeah.
You could see it for what it is.
It's like a master reset.
Yeah. And to see like the rock formations and the erosion coming off of those, and the way that they
I think you're turning my mic up.
Yep, we're good.
I feel like I'm really loud now.
Oh my gracious! You've been begging for more.
I'm tripping
more
out.
Brad.
I'm
More
tripping
Brad.
out, man. Paula knows how to make me happy.
I had a different mindset going into it for the second time. The first time was that anxious discovery of what it is, and then the second time it was I'm back at a place that I've been to and I know I can survive and enjoy, and I didn't have a single damn care.
Yeah.
I didn't care about anything. I was not worried. I had no concerns. Yeah, I had flat issues pretty much all day on Sunday, but I thought I'm gonna make it back. I'm not
I felt safe the whole time.
Yeah, and you are way out there. Like you can go 2 hours without seeing a single man-made structure, and then you see
that's 2 hours rolling if everything's working. If you're walking, that turns into 4.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
We saw mud huts,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw probably a $60,000 tiny home.
Yeah.
Self-sustaining tiny home out there.
That was the nicest place I saw the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was like, these people are living high on the hog,
And if you want to disappear,
Oh,
that's where you go.
That's true off-grid there.
Yeah.
But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't. I need more understanding of why there's fiber optic cable everywhere. I was trying to explain this to Paula, and I didn't have enough information to even make it make sense. But for the record, there's literally nothing anywhere, but about every mile there's a fiber optic stub up next to the road.
Probably more like every half mile, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came after 9/11, right? It was the infrastructure bill that was passed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the specifics, the details, but part of the Patriot Act, Brewster County qualified for Patriot Act grant money that could be applied to. I mean, I swear.
Is it because they're close to the border, or what is that? Why Brewster County?
Well, basically, most municipalities and county governments receive Patriot Act funding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where a lot of the SWAT teams bought their Humvees and their not AK-47s.
I didn't see any Humvees in Terlingua.
That's my point.
I know, I'm kidding.
Brewster County, I bet they got some nice police vehicles out of it.
I didn't see a single police officer the whole time we were there.
Except for that motorcycle wreck.
Oh, yeah. That is
Assault
true.
3.
That is true.
And
And an amber lamps.
Ambulance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know the specifics of it, but my understanding is their Patriot Act money was applied towards helping the telecom infrastructure.
That seems there had to be some shadiness that going on there, because nobody legitimately thought we need to run fiber over hundreds of miles.
I mean, some of the justification may have had something to do with immigration concerns. It's quite possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just so they could set up a camera on the border.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe part of the Patriot Act funding for something like that was
Lucky.
Lucky's
Lucky's always part of the podcast.
This is my show.
Yeah.
It's my turn to talk.
Speaking of idiots.
So I found the meeting minutes from Brewster County
Thanks,
Commissioners
Jamie.
Court.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Jamie Caleb. August 25th, 2010 is when, and this is a big document. So somewhere in this 15-page document will explain.
Well, go ahead.
I tend to believe that somebody stood to benefit from all that cable, that fiber optic getting run.
There's always people that benefit from
Yeah.
government pork. That's the whole
Yeah.
nature of it.
Yeah. Because it's so fucking out of place.
So now, along the lines of Brewster County having large documents. So, like I said, probably 98% of that route that y'all did was on the Terlingua Ranch private roads. I think the only county road we were on was Aqua Fria Road for a little bit, and then whatever time you spent on 118, the highway.
Yeah. What about Do-Si-Do? That was a private road
Yeah,
too?
all
Okay.
of that was private road.
Okay.
So what's funny is if you bring up the Brewster County, 'cause I think Brewster County is the largest geographic county in Texas.
That's what Caleb was breaking me off.
Yeah.
He said it's bigger than Rhode Island.
I can't speak to those specifics, but it's a big.
Am I making that up, or did you say that?
I believe someone else said that, but I agree
Okay.
with it.
It's a big damn county. I know that.
It's huge.
So, you can bring up the official county maps, and what it generates is like a 600-page PDF book that you're supposed to then just spread. But the funny part about it is it doesn't show any of the Terlingua Ranch roads. It only shows the county roads. So you've got this 600-page PDF for county roads that has like 6 roads on it.
So
Like,
that begs the question: who maintains all those roads? Because there was a varying degree of roads, and some of them were barely roads, but even those were super smooth. Even the ones that were barely defined were very smooth. Now there were some very rugged sections as well.
That's relative, but yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
But I mean, a lot of it, and even Paula and I have this goofy thing, like when I get home and get settled and we pour a cocktail and I airplay all my pictures and my friends' pictures to the TV and just kind of do an old school slideshow. And I just say, look at this, check this out. This was, and just I was noticing how now obviously we didn't take pictures on the rugged roads because we're busy riding
Handling
them.
the bike.
Yeah. But the majority of the pictures, I couldn't help but notice we rode a lot of smooth roads, or maybe, like I said, my thoughts are skewed because all the pictures are smoother roads, in the videos.
Yeah, I think you're underestimating the amount of chunk you did go over, but I will say that is the most, for across the board, that was the most well maintained the whole route has been that I've ever.
Well, and that's what I
down
meant.
there.
For private roads, I would have anticipated that it was just going to be a shitstorm from the get-go. Now, we did ride through a lot of sand and, some stuff that was slow going, and we rode through a lot of creek beds that were roads, and you can imagine when they get flash floods
Sure.
that it's impossible. But
there's a couple of pieces that come into play on it. One is it's the desert.
yeah,
So when something is graded, repaired,
yeah,
handled,
yeah.
that can last for years.
Now I do want to back up and say I do remember, now that I'm thinking about it, we rode across a bunch of wash bars. Where because there was basically a berm along the side of the road everywhere.
But then there'd be kips in it so the water could run off.
Yeah, and so there was a bunch of places where the water had ran across the road, and it kind of made like a tiny little ditch, and it was just enough to piss your taint off every time you hit one. I do recall all of those. So I guess maybe I'm fantasizing a little bit.
I mean, they were in exceptionally good shape for as remote as we were, and I mean, even though we had the route go through some of the more populated air quotes areas down there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I make a point to go through the least populated areas I can when it's practical too.
Yeah, I love that.
And those roads were definitely in better shape. My theory is that roads that we'd been on before that may not have been as well maintained, it's just the local association grader just hadn't been to those roads. It might make the circuit once every 3 years sort of thing.
Yeah.
On the less used roads.
Yeah.
The more populated roads if somebody lives on a road and a storm comes through and washes it out, they're going to call it's POATRI.
Property Owners Association of Terralingua Ranch Incorporated.
Yeah. So basically, if you're an owner out there, it's like $180 a year are your association fees.
Yeah.
And that pays for the private grader, basically.
Yeah.
And I believe one of the issues among some of the owners now, I mean, I think it's been the same fee forever, quite frankly. But also, it's the same fee whether you have a 5-acre plot or a 5,000-acre plot. I think is one of the issues out there. Some of the owners are like, well, this huge segment has 8 roads all around it and through it. They should pay more.
Right.
And I shouldn't pay as much because I've only got a 300-foot section of road that goes by my place.
Yeah, how do you get to your place?
I see both sides of it. I'm not siding with one or the other.
No, we don't need to get into the politics of a place we don't even live in.
There's 1,100 miles of dirt road in the association.
That's insanity.
And Brewster County only maintains 400 miles.
Oh, wow.
So there's a big debate going on how their money is being used and how they're being taxed when the county is only... It sounds like a dog chasing its tail.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not going to pay more because you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to do, but the county's saying, well, we can't do what we're supposed to do because you guys only pay us whatever.
You know what? F politics. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
The route was amazing. I loved every minute of it. We talked about on the way home how killer of a single-day race that would be. Mm-hmm. Like, to bring some guns down there and see what kind of time they could put on like Caleb started the statement going, it'd be kind of interesting because it's only 105 miles. And then we started just talking about, like if you ran the identical course that you ran and, Bad Rabbit Cafe would be your only resupply, that store, that area.
Right.
And then maybe we did a water stop at mile 28.
On
the
day
first
one.
day, yeah. And then I think the second day was 16.
It was 16 to get it ahead of the Mesa, but if we did a loop race like that, I would actually
do it post Mesa.
Do it on the other side of the Mesa.
Yeah.
So that would have made it like 25 miles,
which is perfect
with the Mesa up and down in between.
That would be sick.
That route and the desolate nature positions itself to be a very unique race if it were ever made.
That would destroy some people's feelings.
It's very unique.
Yeah.
It's not crazy miles.
No.
But that's not necessarily that's part of the factor
Yeah.
of the challenge.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I wish I was in way better shape. but it was. I feel like I'm in better shape now after riding it.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. And I mean, I think it's. I think we're separating from a one-run race.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just a thought exploration.
Well,
we were just talking about kicking it around.
It had been actually, that was the plan originally, and then
not that I would enter.
They
for the record.
And we were wanting to do that, and then that Red Bull race got put together on the same weekend. Well, originally got put together.
That's right.
And then it got delayed, and I'm not sure whatever came of. I know they ended up having it.
Wait, I don't know anything about that. Tell me what was the format? Where was it? Was it the same
Chico?
area?
Not Chico.
It's that ranch west of there. It's a luxury resort. It's where that was it Scalia, the chief the Supreme Court justice that died at the hotel.
It wasn't Scalia, but it was.
I don't know anything about any of this. I don't read the news.
You know what I'm referring to, right? But it was.
You remember seeing footage of this because there was a DJ. So part of the race goes on a airplane runway. Remember that?
I never saw
any. There's a DJ
any.
in the middle of it. But I heard it was kind of a train wreck too.
They said stuff went sideways.
So it was a gravel grinder though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know Red Bull did any kind of gravel events.
It was.
Or was it?
It was. I believe it was at the prompting of a renowned Red Bull sponsored gravel racer in Texas.
Who is no longer professionally racing.
That's fair.
Yeah, he had a part to do with that. Well, I want to go back to the racing portion of it, even if it doesn't ever become a race, which is totally fine. The next person that gets through this segment and gets there the fastest,
Gets to name the segment. Yeah,
man, that got me tingling.
it was cool.
That was so much fun. That surprise.
I love that Caleb that he said that after our bellies are full though.
I know.
Like we just ate all the cookies
I just
and
pounded a Coke. I have all the bubbles in my guts. And he goes, hey, go race this next 2 mile section as fast as you can. And if you win, you get to name it.
Yeah.
Name the segment on Strava. That curveball was like that.
Did we figure out, was it
amazing.
you or Cameron?
Well, okay.
I know
I finished about 5 or 6 seconds in front of him, but he didn't start until 20 to 25 seconds after I did.
How do you know that?
Because he told me.
Oh.
I haven't gone and looked, but it would be very.
Cameron's not a fudger.
No. I think he beat me by. I crossed the finish line first, but I think he probably beat me time wise by probably 15 seconds.
Yeah. That's the other cool thing is, we've talked about this before, but events like that kind of weed out the people that you don't want there. Because people that are questioning themselves or, whatever.
Or if it's, are you going to have sliced bananas every 8 miles? Nope.
I was mad there were no orange slices, but I was hoping there was going to be some orange slices just for that retro.
I understand.
But it was cool because we had 12 people. Everybody was cool as shit. Everybody was like super congratulatory. Helping on the trail, whatever, greeting you. There was great camaraderie around the campfire. I mean, we sat and we had beers and conversed at the Bad Rabbit Cafe before dinner Saturday night. I mean, it was...
Oh, Caleb, what about that dinner Saturday night?
You mother scratcher. I don't eat beef.
That's right. You didn't. I'm sorry.
I didn't
forgot
partake
about
in the beef
I'm
cheeks.
sorry.
That's okay.
I wasn't throwing you under the bus there.
No, it's fine.
But
I am I'm the weird one.
Did you have the grits and salsa at least?
No.
No, I had cafe food.
What is a grit?
I think a grit. It's ground up white beans.
All right, Chef Brad.
Yes, sir.
Chef Brad, please inform the audience. What was our dinner Saturday night?
Hey, say it in a way as if I came and sat down at the table and you're telling me what the special is.
Yeah,
give me that.
Like a fam night.
Okay, so tonight we have braised beef cheeks that were treated with ancho chilies and guajillo chilies, deglazed with a Spanish red wine, and featuring all the standard aromatics: onion, shallot, garlic, carrots, celery. All that was hard sauteed in cast iron. Tomato paste incorporated, browned off, deglazed with the Spanish red wine, beef broth on top of that, thyme, bay leaves, S&P ovs, and cooked 300 degrees for about 4 hours until it was just fall apart. Then I took that and cooled it, vacuum sealed it, and transported it. So we sous vide'd it to bring it back up. Nothing's going to ruin that dish at that point. And then I did grits. I did a mixture of purple heirloom grits and regular white hominy grits, half chicken stock, half water, just to give them a little bit more savoriness, but not too rich because the beef was going to be rich anyways. And then a nice butter, and I did a homemade salsa. I know it sounds weird, those three things together, but something about the acid and the sweetness, because I make that salsa with roasted tomatillas and tomatoes, obviously jalapenos, onions, garlic, and just a little bit of citrus. I usually do clementines or whatever citrus I have hanging out, and then just salt. I mean, it's a beautiful salsa. It's such a simple thing, but everybody always goes crazy over it.
It was a fantastic salsa, and it got used the rest of the weekend on every single meal.
Yeah, I brought 2 quarts of salsa, and not a drop of it.
There wasn't a bit of it
was left over.
The number one response I saw by people when you told them what we were eating, or Kevin told them what they were eating, was beef. Like when you said beef cheeks, like there was you could see some gears grinding. Yeah. Explain the properties around that muscle, how big it is.
So beef cheeks are literally like the jowls of a cow. So it's got a lot of connective tissue, because you think about, cows are constantly chewing a cud, and it cooks very similar to a short rib. It's got all that connective tissue, but it's got a lot of great collagen in there. So if you cook it nice and slow, you do the braise, all of that stuff breaks down, and you get that just beautiful lip coating collagen protein deliciousness. And like I was telling those guys when we were sitting around eating it, back to the romantic kind of thing. In my mind, I was like, this is the perfect desert dish. Especially after a hard ride, you want something that's going to fill you up. You want something that's unctuous, and not only that, but those grits and all that, it just drops a bomb in your stomach, and you're already tired. It's going to put you to bed. It was I think it was a good combo, all the way around.
No doubt.
And I don't think any of it went to waste.
I think there was a half a spoon of grits left.
Yeah. So it was awesome. I was very glad that everybody enjoyed it, because I was a little nervous, like, what are these guys going to think about beef cheeks? But then I was like, well, that's what's for dinner. So once they try it, they'll be in.
Well, and Caleb, I'm not picking on you.
Sure.
But
you can.
I am going to refer to last year.
Yeah.
Originally, we had a longer route laid out for the first year. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of weather come through there. There's some really remote stuff that's fantastic that I still want to get people out to.
We saw some of it.
But it truly is. You think you might have been in the middle of nowhere on some of this ride. That other stuff's even further out.
And I'm sure.
So it's one of those things that without eyes on the route and so forth, we shortened it up last year just for safety's sake. And I think we were planning for 125 or 130, and it turned into 100 miles. And Caleb's like, I need more miles. It was
a lot hotter last year, though, right? That's what Caleb was telling me.
The cold was a little colder, and the heat was a little heater.
Yeah.
This was I mean, it got the peak heat on Saturday and Sunday was maybe an hour or two, and it wasn't. Last year it was 3 or 4 hours in the day. It was much hotter. We were cooking out there. It was significantly hotter.
They were toasted last year. But day one last year wasn't as hot. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that day one, and finished about the same time last year, if I remember right.
Day one-ish was around the same time.
Yeah. And Caleb was like, this isn't a bad time to end. Let's take a break and let's relax and let's enjoy.
When you look at the mileage compared to what Spinistry events normally offer a 100K or
Yeah.
whatever. You look at that mileage and you go, that's not a lot of miles to drive down there. But what people don't realize is you're stopping every 3 or 4 miles to take a photo or to
Yeah.
look at something that you've never seen before. It's
Yeah.
going to take you
Yeah.
not all day, not sun up to sundown, but it's the experience takes time to enjoy, just
Sure.
like grinding out those miles. And those are hard miles.
Yeah,
Like
there's-
it doesn't look like on paper that you're climbing a lot, but
Yeah.
climbing up Christmas Mountain, going in reverse, I was telling those guys,
Yeah.
the reverse of this, it wasn't like last year's was easy. It was not easy. It was
Right,
difficult in its own way, but this year was significantly tougher just because of that first day
And
of,
there's
of making those climbs.
There was very few easy miles out there. Even some of the downhills, we were going through kind of thick stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to pedal,
Oh yeah, downhill pedaling
yeah.
through 3 inches of kitty litter is working.
Titty glitter, I think is what you mean.
Yeah, can we say? I didn't know if we could say titty glitter.
You can
yeah.
say whatever
Titty
you want
glitter.
to. I only edit Brad.
Yeah.
That's
This
right.
son of a gun.
I'm live without a net.
And then I have to say that I realized that in the moment, and now that we're out of Brewster County, we can talk about it better. But when you said the don't use route has that piece that I haven't really vetted, you can go check it out. I realized that in that moment, that was basically you going, I know you're going to go do it anyway, so just go do it. And so when we got to that point and it was what the situation was, and these other 3 guys were like, Kevin's going to be mad. We're turning around. And Garrett goes, this is the course. This is the way I'm going. And I was basically, hold up. And I go, well, I'm not going to let you go it alone,
Thank you.
And, yeah. And so I was like, I'm with you. And I said, plus, this is the spirit of the adventure. And that's when, it got into my wheelhouse because I like that. I like well, fuck it. Let's just go. Let's see, And we had the course. We just had to try to stay on the course. But that was probably one of my highlights, So, and then it worked out. This is the thing that we didn't tell you, is even all the pushing and walking and going over stuff. We popped out, and I literally had just sat down to get all the titty glitter out of my shoes, and these guys came up from the connecting. I mean, it was like the perfect timing. And I don't know if you guys were hammering.
No, we were going at it easy, and we were actually trying to look over the brush to spot Garrett's orange helmet. I mean,
Yeah.
we did that quite a bit.
Yeah.
He was the only one that had a high vis helmet.
We went around that same peak or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You guys went this way, and you were all gravel road, and we went this way, and it was all unimproved, shut down,
What used to be a gravel
We were all
road.
looking over to our right as we were riding.
Yeah.
And then Kevin goes, well, shit, there they are, right? Donahue, not Lee.
Yeah.
Said, well, shit, there they are. I mean, we were riding in your direction. You were in eye view.
Yeah.
But we were looking in the other direction.
Oh, really?
We kept looking to where you guys were coming from, thinking,
Yeah.
there's no way they got through it that
They'd
fast.
be further back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't stop for anything.
Yeah.
We stopped and took a couple of pictures, but that's
Yeah.
it. But it was cool. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, everything out there is a private road.
Right.
So it said private, but
Well, all right. So for folks that might be listening and going, "Hey, I'll go out and do that," I'm not dissuading you.
Yeah.
Just to try to paint the picture of how it works. It is private property. It is private roads. If you're an owner, you have authorization to utilize all the open roads, but there are truly private roads that just are parts of properties.
yeah.
Basically, if there's a gate,
Mm-hmm.
particularly if it's a locked gate,
Mm-hmm. It's a no-go.
it's
Yeah.
it's a no-go.
Yeah.
If it's a road that goes through, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have permission from owners on the ranch themselves and Terlingo Ranch Lodge to utilize those roads for our weekend.
How hard was that to get? I mean, how did you even find all the appropriate people to sign off? And when you found them, was it like, hey, I want to ride through here? And they were like, okay. Or was it like,
I mean, it's
because a lot of people don't think about the legwork that goes into putting something like this together?
And there's a simple approach and there's a less simple approach and then there's a no approach.
Yeah.
So the simple approach is, so there's a lot of Airbnb and hip camp rentals on those properties. Terlingua Ranch Lodge rents the cabins and they rent the camping spots that
Sure.
we used. Basically, if you rent at Terlingua Ranch Lodge proper, you have permission.
Which was a cool little oasis.
I want
Yeah.
to talk about that specifically
Yeah.
because I'm a huge fan of the lodge. I'm a huge fan of everything out
Yeah.
there, but the lodge is really neat. And when I say lodge, that's a very generous term.
Yes.
This
I
is not,
explained that to my wife last night. It's like, not lodge in the sense that we're used to saying lodge.
This is not a luxury resort by
Yeah.
any stretch, but it's
that's-
a very cool resort.
It is. I was astounded that they had a swimming pool. They had like a big. Did you see the swimming
Yeah,
pool?
I saw it. Yeah.
I was like,
And the Bad Rabbit Cafe is a nice little oasis, but it is subject to the whims of the employment pool down in the area.
Yeah. You could tell that they like kind of didn't give many shits, but
Sometimes they've got a great crew down there and it's amazing. Sometimes they
well, I was talking to the ladies because I had to go. I went down to the store. The store was already closed because I wanted to get the shirt. And I went back because I said, well, you told me that they didn't close until 7, but it clearly says on the door that they close at 5. And so I went back to the cafe and I go, you said you have some shirts up here. Do you have any that I can see? Can I buy a shirt from you? And the lady that was seemed like the manager of the Bad Rabbit Cafe, she goes, if you just pay for a shirt here, I'll walk you down and get you one and let you get one. And I was like, cool. And I go, so we started talking about their seasons, and they're just now coming into season.
They're about to start
So
season.
I took it that it's very seasonal.
Extremely.
And so, like, when they're running on a skeleton crew, I'm sure it's like they really don't give a shit, because they're almost like burdened by you even being there. But when it's high season, then everybody's kind of in pace, and they're fully staffed or whatever fully staffed looks like. So, but everybody was super nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it was cool.
So yeah. So between utilizing the ranch, Jackass Flats, and Pam.
Are you saying Pam? Pam?
Is that two N's? Pan.
The owner of the Littleboro store.
Was she the one with the bangs? The taller chick? Was that Pam that was at the...
No.
Who was the girl?
She just works there.
Oh, the girl that was out at the arena that you thought was serving margaritas? That wasn't Pam? Okay. Well, was Pam happy with us?
Pam is a fan.
Yeah.
Pam.
And the fact that you said she's giving you tips and scouting locations, how cool is that? She's
Yeah.
like saying, hey, go check this out. I got something cool I want to show you.
That is cool.
And it was extremely cool. It
Okay.
will be incorporated into next year's.
Oh, very cool.
I love that camping spot back there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Easy in, easy out.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of room.
Yeah. And I love how we rode straight out of the campground.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
But-
I wasn't a fan of my friend that came back with me. Yeah.
Friend.
Tell Kevin this.
Get back to Brad's house. We were unloading. The fact that we unloaded gear and this guy still made it back. I had dropped my laundry and my camp shoes in the laundry room, and I was kind of going through my gear boxes and situating stuff in the garage. And I could hear my wife saying, no, get back. And I kind of looked my head into the house, and my dog was playing around with, I couldn't tell because it was a little dark. It looked like I thought, oh, she's messing with a wolf spider.
Yeah.
And I looked down, and it was a scorpion. What is that? Is that 3.5 inches?
I would call that 4.
Is it almost 4 inches?
I would call that 6.
Actually, I'd call that 9.
My wife would call it an inch and a half.
I know. What's the curve on this test?
It's probably 3 inches, legit.
It was to put it into perspective. It was the same kind of.
Was it black?
It was not an emperor.
No.
It was the little. I think it was called a wood scorpion.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's the
same one.
Funny enough, it's the same scorpion that Logan Hoyt picked up off the ground on our trail work day.
Yeah.
Pulled the pincher off and
stinger.
ate it. I mean, the stinger
stinger.
pulled the pincher off and ate it, but it was much longer. And the fact that it had to have come out of my shoe because I threw my camp shoes, which meant it jumped in there last night. And next to my tent, I had my tennis shoes and I had my camp slip-ons.
Wow.
And 9 times out of 10, when I get up in the morning, I put my slip-ons on. But because we were getting up to leave, I put my tennis shoes on. I would have put my foot in that shoe.
I tell you what, I was diligent. I got up. So Thursday night and Friday night, and maybe even Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night too. Maybe once Saturday night. But those 3 nights, I didn't get up to pee one time during the night. Sunday night, I must have got up to pee 4 or 5 times. And I kept my house shoes right outside under the vestibule of that little tent. And that was the one thing that I was adamant about, is I would wake up and I would take my shoes and shake them out,
Right.
I
hit them
learned my
together.
lesson on that.
Yeah, because I kept thinking, man, I don't want to stick my foot in here and there be a critter in here, because not only will it maybe hurt me, but I'll probably hurt myself freaking out in the dark, But that is crazy that it made it all the way home.
That's why you keep a Gatorade bottle in your camp kit.
I can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't. No. I'd rather just get outside.
It's too cold.
No, it wasn't. Sunday night, it was gorgeous.
See, if you do that, then you miss the re-entry of the Soviet space junk.
Is that when it happens? At
That's
3
when
a.m.?
4 a.m.
Oh.
4 a.m. Rich and I were camping out there back in that northeast corner of what you all routed a few years back, and got up at 4 a.m. to take a leak, and there's just this huge fireball going.
Oh, we saw one.
We did get to see the meteor shower.
No, we saw what must have been something similar. That night, you went to bed. You had just gone to bed, and we were sitting out watching, and there was, I want to say shooting star, but it had to be something beyond that.
Is that you guys saying you could see it breaking up in the atmosphere?
You saw it come across, and it was 4 times longer than any shooting star I've ever seen. It lasted to the point where I wasn't looking, and everybody went, whoa, and I looked up, and I saw like the second half of it, and then it did this little at the end, and it was wild.
We are actually near peak for the Torrid meteor shower right now, and if I highly recommend to anyone. I watched it last night. It's what I fell asleep to. There's a YouTube show out there called The Y-Files, where they talk about some stuff.
I watch a lot of that stuff.
His most recent one talks about
Göbekli
Tepe or whatever it is, and the Torrid.
I started watching that.
It's a really good one. So absorb that.
Yeah.
I saw something for the first time. I'd never seen it. A moonrise.
Yeah.
That was really cool. We'd got our camp gear set out on Thursday night. And everything, like we were sitting in our camp chairs and like, okay, this is a dark sky registered area.
Yeah.
And we were looking up and was like, why is it so bright behind that peak? And behind the peak, behind
9 Point Mesa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It looked like light pollution.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
what town is over
it's
there?
It's not Marathon. Marathon's too far away. It's certainly not Alpine. We couldn't figure out where all this light was coming from. And then now that I go back and think, it kept getting brighter and brighter. And we were like, we can't see what we're supposed to see.
Well, we thought our eyes were adjusting better and better.
Yeah.
And so this bright was getting brighter, just like the stars start to seem like they're getting brighter, although the stars were diminishing.
And we were, at that point, we're like, okay, we're done. We drove all day. We hiked. We're going to bed. Kevin Donahue went and got in his tent. I was walking towards my tent. And then all of a sudden, out of the top of that mesa, it was the moon that was coming over the horizon.
Yeah.
And to see the moon rise from behind a mountain was insane. At that point, as soon as it came across the mesa, you could clearly see the desert floor.
I'm about to say, and then it just lit up the whole desert, right?
I could read the logo on the side of my tent.
And that was a half moon, right? Maybe
was
not even a half moon.
It was a little bit. No, it was a little bit more than that.
I think it was.
Was it a little more? Okay, but it wasn't a full moon. I was just letting people listen.
No, it definitely
wasn't. The fact that it wasn't a full moon and it was as bright as that, I can't imagine how
a full moon.
We could have ridden half the route at night without any lights.
Yeah, when I moved back from San Francisco, drove through the Mojave on a full moon, I literally turned off my headlights for about 50 miles and just drove because you could see everything and there was nobody on the road.
Yeah.
So when you get into those dark areas like that, full moon is
you don't know that.
crazy.
You might have passed somebody else that had their headlights off because they were doing the same thing.
Well, it was a 2-lane road, so I don't think I passed them.
We didn't see as many variation in bikes from last year. I think because there's a lot of people that did it for the first time, myself included. But
Mm-hmm.
there seemed to be two distinct categories in bikes.
Yeah, that's one of the
did
things
you
I was
ride
going
and
to talk
how
about.
did you feel about your
Yeah.
and then I'll talk about mine.
Well, you know me. I mean, I love my Fargo is my go-to bike.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable on technical stuff on a drop bar bike. I do run much bigger tires than a lot of people. I run a 2.6 up front. I run a 2.35 out back. But that's my go-to bike packing, long haul, gravel, do everything. I mean, I love it on single track. I love it on gravel roads. I'm not the fastest guy, but I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things I was going to bring up because it was almost a split between flat bars and
I think it's
drop
pretty
bars.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I did two things different. I don't remember what gearing I used last year on my front ring, but I put a 34 on the front, so it's 34 40.
Are you running a 42 out back? I think it's a 42.
It was a 42, which was still tough.
Yeah, that's
I felt it.
I had a 34
I'd get
with
behind
a 52.
Donahue, and he's spinning at about 70, 80 RPMs up these climbs, and I feel like I'm at like 50.
So
I would
28s aren't the route to go on this one, then, or the tire to go with.
Oh no. No.
You're and that. So that the other thing that I did change last year, I was on Terraville.
Torino dries?
No, that's Vittoria.
Yeah, that's right.
I was on a Terraville 29.
Yeah.
But I can't remember which one. It was
I can't remember
not the
what they were.
Rutland and not the Cannonball.
No.
Sparwood.
Sparwood.
I was on
Yeah.
Sparwood.
Gum walls.
Not
Assuredly.
okay. Let's get to that in a minute. We'll talk about that in a second. The tread pattern on that was I wanted something a little aggressive, so I went back and put the 2.25 mezcals.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mezcal's a great
I was on
tire.
this. I was using skin walls. Yes, I finally had a sidewall puncture.
Finally.
I've never had a sidewall puncture on a skin wall. On a 29er. Yes, I had it at rule of 3, but that was on a gravel tire.
Was that a gum wall? Skin wall?
Skin wall, gum wall.
And what
tan
about
wall.
the North Shore race where you had two brand new skin wall tires?
Yes, that did happen. One
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
But that was on
So
a
these
single
are-
speed, so again, different.
These are well, single speed shouldn't have its own category.
But here's the thing. So I did get a puncture. I got a
On the sidewall.
On the sidewall.
On the sidewall.
What caused the puncture? Did you see?
No, it was probably it was bombing those hills too
Yeah.
fast. That's 100% what happened.
So this was my question, and I meant to ask you in real time or even leading afterwards. Do you think it was pressure related?
No, I felt my
Because-
pressure was great.
Yeah, but that was the day that you woke up and your tire was flat, right?
It was very low. It wasn't
Very
flat,
low.
but yeah.
And then you aired it up.
Yeah.
And it stands to reason that you were losing pressure and it was lower pressure, and that's why you got that.
I did do a check through
Yeah.
that morning to make sure I had nothing
Sure.
in the sidewalls. It was definitely going downhill.
But I'm
on
saying
that.
if you wake up and it's almost flat, it stands to reason that you're losing
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that you probably lost pressure and you were below ideal pressure, and that's why you cut. Because I tend to run mine, especially on stuff like that. I run a little bit heavier pressure than I normally would if we're going to hit a bunch of trail and stuff,
Yeah.
you know. But I was just curious about that.
I think so. If you're going to go out and do it, drop bar, flat bar, that's your decision.
That's personal preference.
Yeah,
It's comfort.
I think there's definitely pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Is there an aero advantage?
Yeah, I would have put aero bars on my bike if I was going to do it again. I think.
Yeah, there were a couple of there were times that I was able to puppy paw
Yeah.
down.
I did the same
some
thing.
of those
Just-
really smooth, just to get some relief off your hands from
Just
going
yeah,
over
yeah,
the
yeah.
washboards.
Hands and
There are some
wrist.
washboards.
Yeah.
And then
Because y'all working out your hands and wrists.
yeah, my hands. I did get a little bit of fatigue in my shoulders and
Yeah.
in my
Yeah,
my
I would-
elbows, but
I would go aero bars. I think. next time.
I'm pretty sure I had them last year.
Yeah.
and I stayed in them a little bit.
I seem to recall
you would-
that as well.
Yeah.
you would probably only use them, 15-20% of the time. But
Well, but you
when
would be
they're
using
there,
comfort sticks, not arrow bars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
you're there to get some relief, not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
necessarily
That
for
little bit of rest,
Yeah.
it's like that
Yeah.
that stretch of pavement rest, but it's like
Yeah.
you throw something like that in
Yeah.
the mix.
yeah,
it's
and
like,
not only just from a back standpoint, it somehow your legs, you're using a little bit different muscles. It's
Yeah.
like standing versus sitting, you know.
Day 2 coming off the mesa, there's 4.5, 5 miles of almost downhill,
Yeah.
very well groomed
So much fun.
gravel, and I stayed puppy pawed quite a bit going
Yeah.
down there, just even coasting, just getting a.
Was that the section that
You guys were well ahead of us. This was right after I had my puncture.
Okay. Yeah. There was one section where I just felt good and just pinned it for miles and was doing like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, I just kept looking down going, I'm riding 20. You know, it was
Yeah.
just
Oh, can we
freaking
talk about top speed? I broke my land speed record this week.
so stoked for you.
We were. I knew that.
That had to be the pavement,
Is
right?
it day 1 pavement? Was that day 1 or 2?
Day 1.
The day 1 pavement
Yeah. I think-
section. It's like 5.5 miles going down 118.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I was going so fast I couldn't look down at my Garmin to see what it was, and I got 43.3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty
on a
baller.
cutthroat on a 29er.
Yeah. I think I got 41.7.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's a 2.6 up front, 2.35
Yeah.
out back.
I was coming down that hill so fast that I could not make. Don Drabkus was in front of me, off to the right of the shoulder, because they bypassed it too, and he couldn't tell if I was going to slow down and make the turn or if I was going to keep going. So he was like kind of in the road, and I actually yelled at him. I was like, "I'm coming down. I'm coming through. Like, I'm not making that turn." I had to
totally-
bleed off speed and turn around. I mean,
I totally overshot it
Yeah.
because I didn't even know that was the turn.
Yeah.
I was looking ahead because I was like, shit, we got to climb
navigation was the last thing on my mind. It
Yes.
was holding on
again. Yeah.
and just, man.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at it because all I did was use my momentum to start up the hill, and I started gearing down to climb.
Yeah.
And then it was that point that I looked down at my nav, and I was like, oh, shit, the turn was back there. So I just coasted back down.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun, man.
It's hard to explain it to someone until you do it. I had
You can.
no.
Yeah, and that was the feeling that I feel right now. I understand why last year you were like, "Hey, dickhead, next year, don't care what you're doing, don't schedule anything for this. You're coming and doing this with me."
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next point: is go Rangers. I'm
Yeah.
so glad the Rangers won
here
in
we go.
5.
I know.
because this guy, the same guy that told me you have to go do this with me next year.
The guy in his Rangers cap.
Yes. He at the 11th hour said, hey buddy, Caleb.
Oh yeah, I got you, buddy. Pour you some coffee.
He said, man, I don't know if I'm going to go because the Rangers are in the World Series and I don't know when that's going to happen again and I don't want to miss it. I was like, God dang it. And so
I was confident it would be over in 5. I'm pretty sure I told both of y'all
Yeah.
that.
You did. I emailed you and I said, "Look, man,
I
here's the
said the
deal.
same
I
thing.
don't want my money back. This is my crazy
yeah.
thing to get myself into." And he even said, "He goes, you're not crazy. They're going to win in 5."
Yeah.
And I did. I just.
So I was
I had a feeling too, but
I was pulling for the Rangers irregardless.
Right.
But I was so pumped. I was so pumped on multiple levels when they won in 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because it obviously they wrapped it up. It's done. We can relax. But also,
Yeah.
I immediately knew my boy's coming to Terlingua.
on the third out, when Spores got the third out, the 3 things I did: I hugged and kissed my wife, and cried with her, FaceTimed my dad, cried with him, and then texted Brad and said, "I'll see you guys in the morning."
I think you said, "I'll see you, digheads, in the morning."
I don't even think I made a complete sentence, to be honest. My eyes
I'm
were too.
sure you didn't.
My eyes were too wet, but yeah, I mean,
Dude.
but that's how baseball go.
That's the way baseball go.
That's the way the baseball go.
Man, that was a great run.
My little throwback moment from all that, so I was already down there for game 5.
Yeah.
I was hoping I'd be able to find a TV to watch it on. Didn't work out that way, so it ended up doing the radio thing. And good God, I love listening to baseball on the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it great? And how can you not love Eric Nadel?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a legend.
Oh, it's a totally different intellect level to call baseball without a visual.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Because the thing that I notice when I listen to baseball versus watching baseball is I like the way they're like, okay, we got runners on the corner, 2 outs, the count's 3-2, here comes the pitch. You get the visual because they paint the picture so well. It's like a good storyteller, you know?
There are a few and I know is this a bicycle or a sports?
Just keep going. It's shiftless.
Yeah.
So-
This is what we do.
I there are a few national broadcast guys that I do like. I'm
Yeah.
I'm one of the weirdos that actually likes Joe Buck.
Yeah.
I know that John Smoltz is awful.
We've lost half our crowd right now.
Okay.
No, well,
Okay.
I'm going to do a quick rebuttal on that.
Okay.
And then we'll go back. We'll go back to talking bikes.
I enjoy listening to the local guys, and I listen and watch baseball while I work. I put it on my iPad, and I don't care what game it is. I just like to have it on. And I really appreciate listening to the local guys because you get more information specifically to the team that you're interested in.
Right.
Not necessarily that I'm looking for a biased opinion.
Sure.
But when I listen to the local radio broadcast as opposed to the national Fox Sports game, or the World Series broadcast where they bring in two guys that have not called a single Ranger game in their life. Right. I like listening to the guys because they remind me of stats that they're specifically talking to about the Rangers. So I tried to sync up my TV and the radio at the same time, and
it's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible to do now. Back in the cable days when you were hardwired, you could do it, but when
over the air.
yeah, because if you turn on the game, if Brad turns on the game 35 seconds after I turn on the game, he actually could end up being 3 minutes behind because it depends on how his
because my
how his commercials are loaded up on.
My mom is a huge baseball fan, and so we're constantly texting during games throughout the course of the year, and inevitably I'll be 45 seconds behind her or something, and I'm like, oh, quit telling me because you're spoiling, because it sucks when you say when I watch somebody and I'm like, oh, this could be Garcia hitting a homer, and she's like,
full count, what's gonna happen?
and she's like, shit, too bad Garcia struck out, and I'm like, shit.
So I'm going to do my rebuttal on the Smoltzy thing now, and maybe it's because I'm a Smoltz era Braves fan, and maybe that comes into play on it. But while I was listening to the game on the radio, that was the one thing I was noticing I was missing was his setup for each pitch.
I love it.
That part is fantastic.
I loved it, but when he starts inserting, when
he starts getting editorializing about the teams that he obviously doesn't really know.
I'll backpedal and go, he's not awful. He still hasn't quite figured out. That's a glowing
review.
He hasn't quite figured out how to call a game unbiasedly, but his unique perspective of the game being one of the greatest pitchers of all time and saying, okay, this is going to be a splitter high, or this is going to be a two-seam, and here's why. And I'm going, oh man, I've never thought.
I've never listened to an announcer that called every pitch like that and the whys and the wherefores, or he was 2 inches off of what he was trying to do there. That was the right pitch, but the location was off. That was absolutely fascinating to me. I had never experienced that level because I've never been a pitcher, so I've been a catcher.
You geeks should start a sportscast podcast. Baseballist.
Pitchless.
All right.
Okay.
Let's talk about bikes.
Bicycles are sports.
Yeah.
I
Go Rangers.
I can't wait to go back next year. I don't care how many spots there are. There's one less because I'll be there.